You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.
And the Pittsburgh Steelers become the first franchise in history to win 6 Super Bowls.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Touchdown! Kansas City! Damian Williams! Forward! Diving to the goal line! A touchdown! And a title for the Patriots!
What do you think having a 37-year-old?
We're on to Cincinnati.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. It is NFL Unhinged. First show this season. We've been promising it a lot, and we got a lot of good content for you guys this morning as we're leading up into the NFL Sunday slate. Got shows from all over the Unhinged Sports Network, so hopefully we're bringing in everybody else's listeners. But we got my name is Jimmy Pilato. Start off. I host the Far End of the Bench podcast on Wednesdays from 1 to 3 Eastern time with Nico Bryant. He's not going to be here today, but he'll be on these shows normally moving forward. And I'll let the J-Dash Morning Show introduce himself since he is kind of the founder of the network and the brainchild behind everything that's going on here.
Oh, that's nice. You're putting me on a pedestal. That's nice. Yeah, I'm Jim Renee, aka J-Dash, the host of the J-Dash Morning Show. We're going to rebrand a little bit here. Next time we launch after Thanksgiving, my buddy Carlos is having some medical issues, but we'll be the J-Dash Show, so you can follow us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. We'll talk everything sports, media, controversies. We just talk about some random stuff. We go on a lot of rants, so you can catch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings.
It's always entertaining. Jim and Carlos, they have a similar vibe to Nico and myself, I feel like, where they've been friends for so long they can kind of read each other's thoughts and emotions and sometimes don't say that. Like, you might not agree with everything you're saying, but you know it's going to get a rise out of the other person. So that's it's great. It's really entertaining, all the shows that I've listened to with Jim and Carlos so far. We also have DJ and Kelcey joining us from the High Low Sports Podcast here on the Unhinged Network. I believe you guys are Thursdays, right?
Yeah, definitely. We're every Thursday at 2 Eastern, 1 Central. So we always get that going. If you guys haven't heard us before, first of all, shame on you. I mean, what are you guys doing? Come on, help us out. But no, really, we like to have fun. I'm definitely the slowly dying inside Cowboys fan, slowly turning to a Bengals bandwagoner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm 100% the comedic relief for our show, if you guys can't tell already. But DJ, I'll let him introduce himself.
I'm the high end of the High Low Sports Podcast, and I'm usually the one who's right about everything and makes sure Kelsey's aware that being a Cowboys fan was a mistake. I'd never let him live it down until he fully converts to a Bengals fan.
Yeah, it's been a while.
There you go. I mean, I'll take extra Bengals fans. I can take an extra fan wherever I can get them. You guys are – I know you guys got a similar vibe to the Jim and Carlos and Nico and myself, so I'm glad that you guys are thinking about joining the show. And then, Zach, you're on Beyond the Press Box Wednesdays leading up to the Far End of the Bench show, and then you also host your own football show, Gridiron Gallery. If you're watching on YouTube, that's the logo that you're seeing him on our Zoom call. But Zach, go ahead and introduce yourself and let everybody know what you're kind of going to be bringing to the show.
Oh yeah, good catch there, Jimmy. Because I was gonna say Bleacher Connection's great show, just not on it. But at this point, I'm on 2 shows on the network, so hey, might as well just pile on, right? Right, we'll just keep on adding on to my list.
Yeah, if you keep getting out in front of there, people are bound to listen to you.
Someone's going to listen to this show, am I right? No, but yeah, you're Jimmy there. I am Zach Kyleman. I do host the Gridiron Gallery show. Basically, format for us, every other week we do NFL episodes. My buddies Tony Stenielson and Michael Grimberg. We also do, between those weeks, generally other football leagues. I don't just cover the NFL, by the way. We do arena football. We do XFL content, CFL. You name it, I try and cover it the best I can if it has a football involved. So, yeah, that's generally how we go. It's mostly football. That's the Gridiron Gallery. And then Beyond the Press Box, I recommend you check that out. That is the other show that Jimmy mentioned. That is on Wednesdays, just before Far End of the Bench. I am more of an analyst in that role, whereas Gridiron Gallery, I'm a host. The host of Beyond the Press Box is Yash Padi. You can also listen to myself as well as Cody Emerson and Will Hatzel. We're talking all things from football, baseball, basketball, and college football as well. I said football twice, but you know what? That's fine. They're different in their own right. That's all I got. Otherwise, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at ZK Podcast. That is fitting for all three of those social media sites. And guys, I've been excited for the show all week. I don't know about you, but let's get this thing started, right?
Yeah, I mean, we can get right into it. First off, Kelcey mentioned he's a dying inside Cowboys fan. I kind of wanted to gauge on where everybody else's fandom lies. I know pretty much where everybody else's lies, but we might as well let the audience know. I am a Bengals fan. If you're watching on YouTube, I obviously have the B in the Bengals. Joe Burrow's my Lord and Savior. He's going to lead us to the promised land through this rough stretch. Jim, let's let the people know what you are, unfortunately.
I am a born and raised and bred New England Patriot fan, moved to Jacksonville, also a Jaguars fan. So I'm in the sinking ship of suckiness, but I will follow my homeboy and my GOAT, my quarterback, my God, Tom Brady to Tampa Bay.
Oh, man. Okay. I mean, some people are going to give you credit for that, but I feel like the mass hole is maybe going to make you the enemy of the show. I know you don't mind being. You're good at playing the heel.
Oh, yeah. Of course I'm in, but you can tell me from other shows. I basically don't like this Patriots team this year. So I'm one of the bad guys, but I can see the light in the end of the tunnel. We suck.
Yeah, it's bad for the Patriots. Welcome to being an NFL fan most of the time. You don't always get 20-year championship runs, so welcome to that.
I'm now a Bengal fan, technically, with the Patriots.
Look, are we just basically making this the Who Sucks Worst show? Because that's all this feels like. By the way, I'm a Bears fan, so even though I have 5 wins, it's a total mess. It's a facade.
Yeah, Matt, and you're going to keep Matt Nagy around because you are 5-3.
Yes, 5-4. You can't give him credit, man.
Yeah. Hey, you're still a contender.
Contender with quotation marks. Definitely around that word. At least Matt Nagy's given up play calling to Bill Lazor. That's awesome. I don't know what that's going to do, but it's worth a shot. We're at desperate times call for desperate measures, as I've always heard.
Oh man, I've struggled for a while. I'm finally enjoying football season again with the Bengals and having Burrow. But DJ, did you mention what team you kind of in for? What team you put yourself behind?
I hate my team as much as I love them, but I'm an Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning fan who has stuck with the Colts even though they killed Andrew Luck in his neckbeard for 5 straight years. But I guess I stick with them still.
I mean, loyalty is one thing, and if you're going to remain loyal when your team decides to go out and pick up Phillip Rivers, good on you. But I was not happy with being in Denver, where I'm in Colorado. We hate Phillip Rivers with all we have because we used to have to play him 2 times a year, and his whiny ass would get drugged around the field, and we dominate him all the time, but he'd always be chirping. So I hate Phillip Rivers with a passion. But at least, and that'll segue us into our first recap of the week. We had Thursday Night Football the other night, and the Colts got a big win. It was a weird win because they were down at halftime, they were down 17-13, and now they ended up winning 34-17, shut down Derrick Henry in the second half. How'd you feel about that as a Colts fan watching the game Thursday night, DJ?
I'll agree with you. I hate Phillip Rivers. I'll get that out there, too. The only thing he's done positive is revitalize the Indianapolis school system. But besides that, I think it was a fantastic game defensively for the Colts. Special teams, offense looked good. It was basically their most complete game of the season so far. And against a Titans team that's kind of floundering, but it's still the first place in the division with a longer bye week dealing with Green Bay coming up. And then you have the Titans again. So it's a positive sign for the Colts moving forward, at least as far as winning the division.
Yeah, it was their defense has been kind of criminally underrated, and then getting Darius Leonard back was a big X factor, I think. Zach, I don't know if you were able to watch the game on Thursday, but what kind of stood out to you as the turning point? Because I've heard people say that it felt like the entire time that the Colts just had some sort of feeling that it was going to go their way. Did you by chance catch what kind of pushed it going towards their way?
Well, I can tell you one thing: when you don't convert, when you're deep in the opponent's red zone, obviously that is going to hurt. Tennessee was stopped multiple times with deep drives, and they tried to go for it several times, couldn't convert, and with success comes disguising flaws. Tennessee early on in the season, a lot of offensive production, but a lot of close games. We aren't talking enough about how god-awful this Tennessee defense really is overall, and it was on national TV, so that might have been exposed to finally show us that, hey, there might be a bit more of a problem out there in Nashville than we assumed. this was especially exposed to Chicago, and we got kind of the team itself kind of got railed on for this for the offensive production, because going into the Tennessee Titans contest in Week 9, they were the second worst defense when it came to yardage. So Chicago obviously couldn't capitalize on that, but there's reasons why. Indianapolis is a much more competent offense, as Chicago has seen this year. And, well, that's kind of what happened. And when you don't convert your drives and you can't keep up with a shootout, odds are you're generally going to lose if your defense cannot support you in the way that it needs to.
Yeah. What do we feel about Ryan Tannehill? And this has kind of been last year. Was it a 1-year wonder? Was it just him being away from Adam Gase finally, who seems to be quarterback kryptonite at this point in his career? And he started off the season great, looked awesome when they beat the Broncos in a game that they either should have dominated a little bit more or barely should have won. And then Thursday night, 15 to 27, 147 yards. So, Kelcey, where do we stand with Ryan Tannehill? Is he moving towards being a lead, or is he going to kind of flounder and move back to what he was in Miami?
Look, if he moves and goes towards being elite at this age, that'll be the first I've ever seen it where plus 30-year-old becomes elite. He does well with what he has. I mean, he has a freak athlete in A.J. Brown. He has a great receiver, just a possession receiver in Davis. It helps having Jonnu Smith. And let's not forget, there's that man, the myth, the legend, Derrick Henry running the ball. So his job's kind of easy, really. Like, hand it off to Derrick Henry twice, third down and short. Okay, I'll throw it to Jonnu Smith, or let me throw the top off to A.J. Brown. I mean, he does what he has to do well. It's kind of what we expected from him coming out of college to begin with, and before Adam Gase got a hold of him. But yeah, I don't see him getting much better.
Yeah, I think everything aligned correctly last year, and then obviously the rest of the team was a lot better. The defense is one thing, and Zach mentioned it. Like, my game against the Titans, my team, the Bengals, when they beat them at home, it was a surprise. I didn't think at that point of the season the Bengals were going to be able to beat them, but then you realize that against a second-team offensive line, that the Titans didn't record one single sack on Joe Burrow, and that's a guy who's been getting hit basically every single time he drops back in the first few weeks leading up to that, and that's where we've kind of seen the Titans get exposed. The AFC South is not as good as I expected them to be coming in. I thought the Texans were going to be a lot more competitive, and the Colts, I thought they had a lot more promise last year. I wasn't expecting too much out of them. Since Jim is a Patriots fan and he's a former Patriot, do you think that Mike Vrabel is going to be a good enough coach to kind of turn around this situation we're starting to see in the special teams side? And we saw last year, Vrabel's a genius coach and is able to kind of manipulate the clock and time travel like Belichick. And he prides himself on being the coach of the small things. But the Titans special teams is also where they've kind of been destroying themselves with bad mistakes. So do you think Vrabel, Jim, is going to be able to pull the Titans back together and make them a contender in the AFC?
Well, right now there's nothing to fix, because they're 6-3. They're in the mix of a playoff berth, especially with the NFL expanding the playoff to affinity teams to enter it this year. But Vrabel, he just comes off just like Jeff Fisher back in the day. He's going to be that coach that's going to have a nasty defense. He's going to have a coach that's going to hopefully have a nasty defense. Tennessee doesn't really have a defense this year, especially being exposed by the Jaguars earlier this year with a quarterback that had a broken finger this year that finally snitched on himself. But the Tennessee Titans right now are not – there's no panic mode. You're 6-3. Most likely you're going to be a wild card, and you have the loss to the Colts. You have the tiebreaker over them, or they have the tiebreaker over you. So there's really nothing to panic, but you can tell Ronnie Tannehill, for me, what you guys were just discussing, he has his moments that he looks like he could be a good quarterback. Now, elite's now pushing it. Ronnie Tannehill forever will be a game manager, and you can have a game manager quarterback in Tennessee when you have a beast of a running back in Henry. But that defense in Tennessee, unlike last year, is getting exposed. And for Vrabel, I think right now your goal is to keep up with the Colts, and hopefully you win the division. But honestly, are we going to even have home games in the playoffs this year, or are we going to be on the bubble? So right now for Vrabel is just stay in contention, and they're doing that right now. So that's my opinion about it.
I can see that argument. I do. it is an interesting. They go from last year their kicking game was god awful, and this year it hasn't been much better. But now with the punting situation, that was kind of where it turned around. Actually, the blocked punt and the shanked punt is kind of what drove the Colts to be able to take as big of a lead as they were able to get. If the season ended tomorrow and we don't have the expanded playoffs because there's no more canceled games, so we're just going to get the one extra team this season. Do you like the Colts or the Titans to be the division winner and be able to host a playoff game going forward? Because it seems like these are the two teams in the AFC South that are going to be
they're
the
running
ones.
away with it.
Yeah, these are the two teams that are going to be competing with it. So out of these two, what did Thursday night show you moving forward? And I'll go to everybody, but let's just start with Jim.
Colts. Colts have the better quarterback. They actually have can't say very good defense, but they have a overperforming defense. And yeah, even though we hate Phillip Rivers, one thing we got to know about Phillip Rivers, he is the white version of Karl Malone. He gets the points, he makes the playoffs, he just doesn't win championships. So the Colts will win the division. I just don't see the Titans. Tannehill needs to make that next step, and he's looking like the Tannehill from Miami, of a guy that I've seen my Patriots whip every single year. So Colts will win this division. I think they'll be 11-5, 10-6 final record.
All right, Zach. Colts or Titans moving forward, winning the AFC South and hosting a playoff game?
You know what? It's a really tough one because I think it's going to come down to that second matchup for me, because looking at the current schedules you have for both these teams, this is the rougher patches that they're going to be running into. Tennessee has to take on quite its own role. I mean, this week they got Baltimore, for crying out loud. Indy ends the year with Pittsburgh. You got Las Vegas coming into town too. It's a tight one. I think if you're looking at both units overall, though, if we're looking at the overall structure of the teams, I think Frank Reich, Chris Ballard, they seem to have built a roster that overall is sturdier. Offensively, they get the job done. Phillip Rivers isn't the same as he was maybe 5 years ago, but he's serviceable, as we saw on Thursday Night Football. On the defensive side, it's a landslide, in my opinion. The moves that they made for DeForest Buckner in the offseason and what they have done building through the draft with Chris Ballard, it's a much more, I would say, constructed roster that feels like it's not going to be shaken easily by a strong breeze, or it's not going to go away as easily against tougher opponents. That being said, the Titans, at least when it comes to the Colts are their crux as of last few years. I would still say the Indianapolis Colts take this. If they proved in this first matchup that they're capable of coming into Tennessee, mind you, with fans in the stands. I know it's not a full stadium, but hey, it's still enough. It still makes noise. They were able to smack them around on national television. And Ryan Tannehill, for the most part, up until the last 2 weeks, I think was worth his money. I would say that it's been stiffer competition on the defensive front, so he has not been showing his worth now. But I also argue that's a reason why the Colts are at least more well built to take the division. They have a defense that can back up what is enough offensive production and is what is, in my opinion, the best offensive line in the NFL if we look at how it's structured there too.
Yeah, and that was going to be my point for where I think these two teams are going to go. Well, I guess it's a 2 point, but the Colts are relatively healthy injury-wise. I don't remember like them having a huge guy that goes down. And I could be very wrong about that, but the Titans did lose Taylor Lewan, who's their captain, their leader on the offensive line, kind of makes everything go. And I feel like once he did blow his ACL and now he's not been able to play, Derrick Henry's production has gone down a little bit. They haven't been as dominant or as nasty up front. And when you're a team that is built the way that the Titans are, where everybody's big, you're basically going out there to be the schoolyard bully and take everybody's lunch money. And that's how you're going to be able to win games. The offensive line for the Titans is where I see them starting to slip a little bit. And then the offensive line, Quentin Nelson, they've lost a couple guys, but they've kind of reloaded themselves in that area. Quentin Nelson's my favorite offensive lineman of the last generation. I'm not going to say of all time because obviously my Bengals have a Hall of Famer, greatest offensive lineman in NFL history, but we can debate that another time. DJ, how do you feel about your Colts moving forward? Do you think that they're going to be able to take this division away from the Titans and keep a stranglehold on the AFC South now?
Just going to let my full bias come out here and say I think they not only win the division, I don't think the Titans make the playoffs, because looking forward, the Titans schedule gets a little bit rough for them too. You mentioned Baltimore coming up. Then they have to play the Colts again. Not quite enough time to necessarily bounce back from what happened in that game, especially in the second half. Then they play the Browns with Nick Chubb coming back too. That's another tough one. Jaguars and Lions, they'll scrape by both of those. Then you got the Packers and the Texans, who they barely beat the first time. It took Derrick Henry and Godbo to beat Texans the first time. So I could see Tennessee kind of falling down the rest of the way and only winning a couple games, maybe finishing in a 9-7 area. Indy, like you guys mentioned, has the Packers. That's good luck with that one. Then the Titans again. Then the Raiders, who are tough, and the Steelers. But the rest of them are – it's very conceivable they go 5-3 the rest of the way – 4-3 the rest of the way and get 10 wins. So going to let the bias stick and say Indy takes it. Their receivers are getting healthier. We saw Michael Pittman, the kid out of USC, the rookie, kind of getting healthy, have a mini coming out party. Paris Campbell's going to come back at the end of the season. Jonathan Taylor will eventually get more than 4 yards of carry. Hopefully, we'll see. So I think Indy's in position to kind of take it the rest of the way and get not necessarily hot and go on a run, but get warm a little bit and get a playoff game, a home playoff game.
Yeah, and if you're going to be – I feel like if you're competing for the 1 or 2 seed, that's very important this year with the expanded playoffs. 1 seed gets a bye. But I would honestly rather be like a 3 or 4 seed where the Colts are going to be if they're a division champion, because I don't think that they're going to pass up the Chiefs or anything like that. I think that would be, that would be where they kind of make their mark as well. And the 3 seed maybe goes on a little bit of a run more than we have seen in the past. Kelcey, you're the last one here to take on this question. Colts or Titans to win the AFC South, and where do you see them going?
Look, I'd love to be the opposer in this, but I can't do it in good heart. Listen to DJ talk about it. I'm surprised he didn't mention his boy at all. Julian Blackmon stepping in for Malik Hooker, who went down game 1, coming off an ACL injury himself, wasn't projected to come back until maybe week 8. Literally is playing out of his mind right now. Single-handedly took down Derrick Henry, which I've never seen a safety do in a game, especially on a short distance to go. I've never seen that from any safety, let alone a rookie. Darius Leonard, you say criminally underrated. He's 100% underrated. Probably the best linebacker of this generation of linebackers. That could be something for debate, but I mean, honestly, what he's done on the field, his impact is outstanding. Mention DeForest Buckner coming to this team. That defensive line just looks even better. They're actually getting a pass rush, which for years has been who can get to the quarterback.
Since Dwight Freeney, they haven't had that ability.
Exactly. And you got, aging Justin Houston over there, but he's still capable. He's still good for one play, a drive. Really this team is going to live and die by Phillip Rivers. And I say that just because he is so streaky now at this age. He's you saw it in the game. First half is okay, well, is he going to be good? It's not looking so pretty. Second half, all of a sudden, he gets the run game with Nyheim Hines going, and then next thing you know, he's actually dropping in dimes. And it's something with Phillip Rivers that will live and die. But I mean, honestly, they're so built defensively that they can handle a down Phillip Rivers even for 2 games.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers is not the guy that I want moving my team forward into the postseason. His record of being clutch in the playoffs and late in the season is not good. If you don't believe me, go back and look at the San Diego Charger teams that he took to the playoffs with LaDainian Tomlinson, Antonio Gates, and all these playmakers on the outside, and Sean Merriman on the defensive line, and they never make it past. Unfortunately, they never make it past the Patriots and never make it into the Super Bowl. They were close all those years, and I thought they would always have a chance, but Phillip Rivers just could not finish in January. That's the one thing that I have against him. Is anything else? We're kind of coming up on the end of the first segment of this show. Any other hot takes from the past couple weeks? We were planning on doing this last week, and then we were not able to. So any big surprise that anybody wants to throw out from week 9 in the NFL that they weren't expecting going in?
What are our thoughts on Tua? Because I'm thinking I'm seeing a lot of pundits overtalk this guy. I've seen 2 weeks. I've seen average numbers at best. And I saw an Arizona team that, in my opinion, was really more letting down in a game that was winnable compared to an overperformance in Miami. That's where I want to start with this. I'm just saying I left this opinion on Beyond the not Beyond the Press Box. I left that on Gridiron Gallery. But it's something that I think needs to be talked about because I need to see more work. I've seen a lot of Justin Herbert. I've seen a lot of Joe Burrow. I've seen 2 weeks of Tua. They won against the Rams over better defense and better special teams. And against Arizona, yes, they did have a shootout, but mind you, it was a pretty balanced attack overall. And I've got people talking him up like he already has ascended past Herbert and Burrow at this point. I'd argue that it's Herbert or Burrow that are in the lead if we're talking a race between these three rookies. I want to hear what you got to say, because that to me, it drives me nuts that we're already hearing it like it's this guy or the highway for the standard for rookie quarterbacks.
Honestly, if you look at that game, and if you look at the game they even played in college, would you say that Tua outplayed Kyler? Probably not. Kyler this past in the game that they just played had 283 yards passing, 106 yards rushing, and 4 total touchdowns. I think that he is specifically, like, personally playing better. Tua has just benefited from having the better team around him in both of those matchups. So I don't think it was Tua beating Kyler. I think it was Tua benefiting off of a team in a better position and having a better coach. I think Brian Flores is a much better coach than Cliff Kingsbury. So I would say that Tua is definitely overblown. Don't talk to me about him being better than Joe Burrow at this point. I'm just not ready for that to be part of the conversation. He's not. Burrow has the best college football season of all time, so we don't have to bring that up. But in my opinion, Tua is not better and is not the far and away best quarterback of the three rookies. You guys can go jump in whenever you want. But whoever else has an opinion on that, go ahead.
I have a very, very strong opinion on this one. Let me tell you. As an Auburn fan, I had to listen to Tua being the Lord. And Lance,
you're cutting in and out, Kels. I think we're gonna have to cut it and then try and start over.
It is what it is. So I don't know.
Is everybody there? I think we were glitching out for a second.
Yeah, I just got it
Yeah,
back.
redo that.
Okay, yeah, just go redo it. I'll be able to cut it.
All right, well, in that case, then I was an Auburn fan my whole time, and so I dealt with the Tua pundits for years. And he throws slants, he throws play-action go routes. Those are his two go-tos. He has the perfect offense for that. Devontae Parker, he runs slants, he runs go routes, and that's really all you need. Albert Wilson, same thing. He just clears out. Mike Gesicki is the only difference, and all he does is run Jason Witten type routes, which are run to the sticks, turn around, body out. And other than that, I mean, it's literally Tua doesn't have these skills like Kyler does. Kyler is a skilled quarterback, whereas Tua is a game manager, pure and simple. He's what every Alabama quarterback has been forever, other than Jalen Hurts. I mean, and that's what he is in the pros. He'll have a good, successful year, career as a pro, but he's not beating Joe Burrow, especially not Justin Herbert.
No, Jim, DJ, you got anything to go on that? Who do you think is the better quarterback?
I like Tua, but I'm taking Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow before him. If you put either one of those two quarterbacks with Miami's coaching staff and the players they have around them and the way they're rolling now, they'd probably have the same record, if not better. You put Tua on the Bengals, Tua's in the ICU probably with how often he'd get hit. Because the Bengals are basically like Andrew Luck's Colts, where, hey, go save us really quick, but try not to die with 47 sacks per game.
That one hurts, but I'll accept it. I'll accept it. That one hurts.
Sorry, I went through it too in 2012, 13, et cetera. I know your pain. It hurts. And then Justin Herbert, he has Keenan Allen, he has the weapons, but that offensive line is Swiss cheese, and that's probably the worst coaching staff in the league as well, too. So I think Tua's fine. He'll be a really good player. He'll make the playoffs before those other two probably because of the situation. But you can't plug him in those other situations and do the same thing those guys are doing. So I think all three will be good. It'll have a Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning kind of feel to it. But there's clearly two guys that are 1 and 2, 2 and 1, however you want to rank those two. 2 is clearly the third in here, which isn't that bad. I mean, could be worse. We could be comparing him to Matt Flynn or some other trash panda.
Yeah, I still think that Tua is going to be successful. But he is definitely the black sheep of the three big quarterbacks that came out of college last year. Jim, what do you feel about Tua being a little bit overrated because of where he played?
First off, I think Miami was a little bit too quick on the gun on him. Ryan Fitzpatrick was having a hell of a season, and they put Tua in, and their offense went from mediocre to great under Ryan Tannehill to mediocre. I said that wrong, but you get the point. It's my opinion is that, yes, Tua, unfortunately, you see the quarterback class he went into Herbert and Burrow and him and Murray. He's the worst of the four. And I know a lot of Alabama fans out there, if you're listening to this program, thank you, by the way, but Tua was a Hail Mary pass touchdown in this national championship game. That got him into the, elite status of quarterbacks. But if you compare him with the other three quarterbacks in his class or the year after, he doesn't hold. The only reason why he is, held to a higher pedestal is because he went to Alabama. If Hibbert went to Alabama, or Joe Burrow or Murray went to Alabama, they will be in the same status as Tua. But for the NFL's way, the Dolphins, in my opinion, were too fast on the trigger. Ryan Fitzpatrick was having a great resurgence of his career like he did in Tampa Bay a couple years ago, but he actually controlled the offense with the Dolphins. And every time Ryan Fitzpatrick was in there, I think they benched him for Tua after a game. I think he threw like 3 touchdowns and 350 yards passing. And I think they just torched, I think, either the Jets or the Jaguars, and they went to Tua the next week. Why would you do that? That you don't bench your guy with a hot hand. You don't do that in any sport, especially in baseball and especially in football. I don't know what Miami was doing, but he's getting a lot of experience. And yes, he, in my opinion, he is held to a higher standard than he's supposed to be. He, in my opinion, has not shown me anything what Hibbert, Murray, or Burrow have shown me so far this year.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse when you're going from the biggest football factory in the country into the NFL. You're always going to be put on a little bit higher of a pedestal. I think that's going to wrap up our first section of the show today, and we'll go ahead, give a break for some ads, and then we'll come back and do a preview pick'em, so I can get everything calmed down in my house. I'm sure that you guys have been hearing the dogs, but then we'll be right back with more NFL Unhinged coming up here in just a second.
Due to technical difficulties, and my dumbass doesn't know how to work the camera sometimes, we're going to have a small little ad. Except we don't have an ad. So we're going to plug the NFL Unhinged show on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m.
To noon.
Well, to noon. To 12. So it's a 2-hour show. How about that? 2-hour show. I'm going to have to wake my ass up that early at 8 a.m. But be sure to check me, Jimmy out, the J-Dash guys, High-Low Sports as well, man. All of us.
Gridiron Gallery.
Gridiron Gallery, a little bit of everything. Maybe we'll have more guests on. Who knows? Be sure to check us out on Sunday mornings.
Yeah, if you want to see what a budgeted Sam Ponder looks like, you can. Actually, I don't know if we're doing the video, but you'll be able to hear. I'll be moderating, and we got tons of opinions.
You can picture Sam Ponder, but hear Jimmy's voice.
Yeah, that's exactly. Everybody makes. I sound exactly like Sam Ponder, but that's coming up on the Unhinged Network live Sundays from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern time.
So without further ado, since we don't have another ad, let's go back to the show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the NFL Unhinged show. Jimmy Pilato here with a whole gang of hosts from all across the Unhinged Sports Network, High-Low Sports Podcast with DJ and Kelcey, Gridiron Gallery, the Zach Kyleman, and Jim Munir of the J-Dash Morning Show. I almost James you, Jim. I'm sorry about that. I know how that feels with my name being the same.
It happens. It's what happens when you get called James when you're a kid.
Yeah, I feel like I was almost saying that you were in trouble. But now we talked about the Thursday night game and kind of introduced what we are all looking to bring to the show. I had a discussion that I wanted to bring up and pose in the group. What team do we all think is going to benefit the most from the expanded playoff as they've moved from 6 seeds on the AFC and NFC side now to 7? So we're going to have an extra wild card team. Only one team gets a first round bye in the playoffs. So who benefits the most from this, and who do you think will be the first 9 seed in the NFL? So I'm going to start this one off. I'll go in the opposite order that I have been. DJ, give me your pick for who's most beneficial from the playoff, and then who do you think is going to be the first 9 seed in the NFL?
So for the first 7 seed, I think, for the NFL this year, it's going to be kind of one I never would have expected, but I'm going to go with the Las Vegas Raiders. So far, they've been kind of a surprising 5-3 team, and the rest of their schedule, it only gets easier for the most part. They got Denver coming up. They got Denver twice, actually. Atlanta, the Jets, the Chargers. Like, those are 5 very winnable games. Then they have the Dolphins, Colts, and Chiefs. They'll get scraped by the Chiefs, guaranteed. But with the Colts and the Dolphins, they could easily take one of those. That's an easy potential 5 to 6 wins, get them 10-6, 11-5. I think that's enough to get them in there because Ravens or Steelers is definitely taking the 5 seed. One of those two teams is taking it. 6 seed, I could see it going to maybe even the Browns because they're still right there too, and they're getting healthier. And they've only lost to the Steelers and the Ravens, really, and the Raiders. So I'm going to say the Raiders take the 7 seed and surprise everybody in spite of John Gruden's terrible personnel management.
Well, it's a good thing Nico's not on this show because he would have not appreciated that shot at the Broncos being 2 winnable games. I agree. I think they're going to this weekend is a different story, but towards the end of the season, I could see the Broncos making more of a game out of that. I don't hate the Raiders as the pick for the first 7 seed. I know I've been saying 9 seed. That's just how I wrote it in my notes because I lose myself sometimes. But the Browns did surprise me how close they still were. So I like the Cleveland, Las Vegas. I could see one of those 2 teams. Maybe the Browns surprise everybody and make it up into that 6th range. So then the Raiders now then battling for the last spot with the Broncos. That would make the end of the season a lot more interesting over here in the western part of the country. But
if Denver was healthy, I think Denver takes them, and it's not easy. But their entire team's broken. Like before the season, we did predictions. I had them at 11-5. But when your entire team is injured and Drew Lock's in and out for 5 games, it's hard to pick them at this point too.
Yeah, that is one thing that we always try and bring up on our show is that half of the salary cap is on the IR at this point. Like a good portion of our salary cap out here in Denver is not being able to play. So that does lead to more difficulties than not. And then I don't think Vic Fangio is a good head coach. All right, Kelcey, who is your pick for the team who's going to be the first 7 seed in the NFL playoffs?
Like I'm gonna stick with the western half of the United States, but I'm gonna go the NFC. And I'm not even gonna pick a team. I'm gonna pick a position in this group. It's the 3rd place team in the West because they're all right there in the NFC West. Right now it's the Rams, but you have the Cardinals tied with them in record, and then Seahawks at 1, and that can all change in 2 weeks in this division. They're all really good right now, all plus 500, and don't sleep on the Niners who are 4-5 right now. Mm-hmm. But this third place team in the NFC West is going to be the team that I think is going to benefit the most. We've seen this NFC West have 1 team go that was a losing record, and now we're going to see them probably get 3 teams. And if some magical miracle happens and the Niners get healthy, maybe sneak a 4th in. It's unheard of, but it is possible this year. But it's very unlikely.
I think we'd have a better shot of seeing 4 teams from the NFC West if they have to expand it even more. Because the NFL did come out with the contingency plan that if there's a game canceled, then they would move it and then move the playoff format to have 8 teams on each side. But I do think that the NFC West is the best division in football. I've been saying that for the last few weeks since the Cardinals-Seahawks game on Sunday Night Football. I think that's my game of the year so far this season. It's one of my favorite ones that I can remember watching for a long time. But I think if I had to pick a specific team on the NFC side, I'd say probably the Rams. I think the Rams are going to be the 7 just because Jared Goff is good but not great, and he's still kind of trying to figure himself out, I think. And McVay is beatable. He's not the genius that we all thought he was when he first started coaching. He's definitely beatable, and this Rams team is good on defense but not great on offense. They're a similar situation to the Bears. And with that, I'll throw it over to Zach. Who's your pick for one of the first 7 seeds in the NFL?
I can tell you in Chicago, that is something that I'll have to get lucky, and I'll need to see a lot of improvement under Bill Lazor. Sorry, it's basically spelled laser, so you can get it wrong if you want. But honestly, if I'm going to give you a certainty, one that I can certainly say will be a 7, it is indeed what Kelcey is saying. It's going to be one of these NFC West teams. Without a doubt, you're going to see Arizona, LA, or Seattle land there. The question is, which one really has the advantage? It's hard to tell right now. Arizona 2 weeks ago looked like it was the one that had the inside track. It was one of the more well put together teams. And then they laid, in my opinion, it was a barn burner with Miami, but it was a goose egg in Miami because I felt that was a very winnable contest for them. And this has kind of been Arizona's MO this year. They've been, for the most part, above average, but games like the Detroit loss to Miami makes me question how realistic you can be with this team. Seattle, in my opinion, has the easiest of the remaining schedules if you take into account even with the LA Rams and one more contest against the Cardinals. They do have 2 games against New York teams left. So, I mean, that's, to my opinion, that's 2 free wins right there.
Is Seattle's defense good enough to have free wins at this point?
I think it can be. I mean, Russell Wilson also is going to rebound, in my opinion. You can have an off game, but he's also 32-8 coming off of losses as well, and especially off of losses with multiple turnovers. He's very much well known for getting himself recalibrated, if you will, for the game ahead. I also think as well that none of them are going to fall out, but I would also say that, Seattle, all they have to do, in my opinion, is really steal one against the Rams. We're going to see which one is, I think, the most well put together and has the inside track after this week. I want to say, because the Rams also dropped what I consider a goose egg against Miami. Kind of funny how Miami's doing that lately. They are a well put together roster under Brian Flores, but these were also, in my opinion, winnable games for these last 2 West teams. So honestly, after this week, you're going to see who's going to take what I would say is either the 2 or 3 spot in the NFC. New Orleans, I say, is right now, they have the inside track to the 1 simply because everyone's getting healthy at the right time. Parts are finally formulating, and they got Quan Alexander from the 49ers. Nice pickup as well via trade.
One of the other very underrated middle linebackers, I'd say. Quan Alexander, Levante David, and Darius Leonard are the top 3 underrated linebackers in the league. So that's
Absolutely.
A huge pickup for them.
Without a doubt. It was definitely one that I think bolsters their chances to, at least for one more try with Drew Brees, to go for the Lombardi Trophy. Because, I mean, man, it's an endless cycle. But if I had to say a 7 out of the West, give me Arizona. They're the one I think I have the least certainty after their loss in Miami. And I also think that as much as Jared Goff is more of the susceptible quarterback out of the 3 teams, I think Sean McVay is the best at scheming that to where it compensates. And the Rams, in my opinion, have the best defense out of the 3 too. Defense generally helps out the offense a lot better. So that's why I got to go with LA in this picture if they were to take the West. But Arizona is my definitive 7 if I had to take out of the 3.
All right. I mean, that just continues to prove the point that that's the best division in football. Jim, where are you going for your pick for the first 7 seed, your kind of sleeper team in either conference? Where are you going?
Well, first off, you said what team would benefit more in this new playoff format? The 1 seeds. Both of them, New Orleans, Seattle, or Green Bay, or whoever wins in the AFC out of Kansas City, Pittsburgh, or Buffalo, they will be the only 2 teams chilling for a week. So you get time to rest. So that's the benefit of being the bye. But the 7 seed, in my opinion, can we all agree that we can, I guarantee we can find a couple thousand NFL fans. We can protest and march in D.C. and tell, the Congress, eliminate Philadelphia from the postseason. Jesus Christ, NFC East has got awful. They're going to screw a very good team out in the NFC. And I think that, in my opinion, will be San Francisco. I think every single team out there in the West is going to make it in if Philadelphia wasn't in the picture. But, yeah, I have to agree with Zach and Kelcey with the Arizona pick. I think the NFC West has been very entertaining. All 4 teams are very competitive. None of these games have been really one-sided affairs. They've been both back and forth affairs, hard school, old school football. That's my NFC. I think the top 7, Arizona would be in there. You might see LA get knocked out between – if you look at the NFC picture right now, Arizona, Rams, Chicago, and 49ers, those would be the four teams battling for the final spots. And – yeah, that's my NFC thing. And the AFC, I can't – as much as I want to get behind Baker Mayfield, as much as I want to get behind that loaded offense that is the Cleveland Browns, they are the Cleveland Browns. I just can't, for some odd reason, put my fingers like, yeah, I think they can make the 7th seed. But for some odd reason, Las Vegas, give me Chucky. They just proved that they can be a playoff contender. They beat Kansas City this year. They're the only team that beat Kansas City this year. And you have to give credit where credit's due. Everyone doesn't like Carr. They think he's cocky. You think he's not a good leader. Their schedule is pretty, in my opinion, very doable for them to get to 8 or 9 wins. I think that's the mark to get the final wild card spot in the AFC. But if you look at the teams below them, Cleveland, Miami, I can't trust them at all. And then you get the other circle of suck between the Broncos, Patriots, Bengals, and Chargers, and you include the Texans in there. It's just the AFC, in my
circle
opinion.
of suck. Excuse you. The Bengals are like 3 games out of the last spot. What are you talking about?
Well, you look at the Patriots. Come on, we're 2 games out. I'm not waving the flag that we're gonna make the playoffs.
I almost forgot. But on our podcast this week, I said if the Bengals win and the Patriots lose this week, the Bengals have a better record because of the tie than the Patriots. So yeah. I hope that makes you feel pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. We're playing Baltimore. Okay. But anyways,
and we're playing Pittsburgh.
Okay, we both are going to get beat big time this week. But yeah, and the AFC, right now, if you look at the top 7 in the AFC, I think that holds, in my opinion. And Cleveland right there with Miami, I just don't trust those 2 teams. So the top 7, in my opinion, the AFC will hold. It just the teams may flip in that top 7, but those are the top 7.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could see Miami maybe even passing up Las Vegas and taking Tennessee out of the picture, depending on how those teams finish their seasons. I think the team that nobody wants to see in the playoffs, probably the Las Vegas Raiders, because of the way that they play football. It's like the Titans last year. You don't want to see the team who's just going to line up and try and punch you in the face as many times as you can before they go down. So I think if anybody, that's going to be my team who'd benefit most from the expanded playoff, because in a regular season they wouldn't have made it probably if they are the 7 seed. So I think that they're going to be the ones that benefit most, and they're my team to maybe go on a little bit of a run if they're able to hold for the rest of the season. They're set up to win in January because they have a big physical offensive line, and Josh Jacobs is going to punish people for trying to tackle him late in the season.
Now I got a question for everyone in here. Do the Jets even win a game this year? I say no. I think they're going to go 0-16.
Yeah, I mean, Nico put some pretty good money on that. There's a pretty good prop bet that they go 0-16.
Yeah, I got him winning 1 just because a blind squirrel can find his nut once in a while. I mean,
I thought they were going to do it on Monday.
It, but
I was hoping.
I thought they had it on Monday.
Well, that's what happens when you have teams like New York that aren't competent, still won't fire their head coach that's been deservingly needing to get out of Dodge as soon as possible. But I don't run the Jets, mind you. I just am assuming that it would be an easy call. There must be something that Adam Gase is doing, at least to bribe this organization to keep him having his job, is all I can tell you. I would agree. I'm not sure completely where you get that win. I mean,
maybe against the Patriots at the end of the year.
That's the
Patriots
only one I can think of.
Yeah. But that's in Foxborough. I liked them better against the Patriots when they were playing in New York. What's up with New York? Because the Guardians sucked when they were in the XFL. The Giants and Jets both suck, and there's just like some black hole that's circling around. Is it the Meadowlands? Is that the name of the stadium?
Yeah, MetLife.
MetLife. There's some sort of dark cloud hanging over that entire state that none of those teams can do well.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, Jimmy, because the Guardians did win a game in MetLife. Don't get me wrong. They were, for the teams that were going towards a winning record at that time, they were the one that definitely, I would say, I couldn't lock in for the XFL playoffs. But I'll tell you, I mean, obviously, there's some bad juju, if you will, hanging over MetLife Stadium. It's not pleasant.
I saw a meme earlier this week. It said the last great quarterback to set foot in MetLife Stadium, and it was Luis Perez of the Guardians.
Oh, yes.
And I looked at that. I was like, damn.
Shout out
that's
Division
even with
2.
Jones and freaking Donald. I'm like, damn, that is a shots fired.
Shout out to Division 2 football, man. We got good players too. I played Division 2. I played at the same level that guy did. His team was obviously a lot better than mine because he went to like Commerce or Texas
San Antonio Corpus Christi.
Yes.
Something. I have a computer in front of me. I could look it up, I guess.
Yeah, Perez.
This is the NFL. This is an NFL show. Let's go look and research of Luis Perez.
Hey, Luis Perez has a better chance to start for the Cowboys this year than anybody else, really.
Hey, AAF, Garrett Gilbert. I'm telling you, man, you switch back to Andy Dalton, that's fine. But Gilbert, I thought he did all right. I would say.
Yeah, Garrett almost beat the Steelers. Look,
some bad
first
calls
time this season I've had hope as a Cowboys fan.
It was Texas A&M Commerce, by the way, not
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M Commerce.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's a very debatable question. I know this is a game that everybody wants to see in all time. Who will win out of the 0-16 Jets versus the 0-16 Lions?
0-16 Lions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. I put faith in John Kitna, who was at the time. So
Didn't they have Megatron too?
Yes.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
I think he was injured half the season. I think he came back like a week before Thanksgiving, and that's the traditional game. But yeah, that was a bad Lions team. But I have never seen teams this god
Dan
awful like the
Orlovsky
Jets.
was the starter. Dan Orlovsky, the get up guy
Oh, yeah,
on
that's
ESPN.
right.
Is he the one that did that tweet a couple weeks ago doing shots fired at the Jets? Like, my 0-16 can beat your ass.
It might have been. He's also the guy who's famous for running out of the back of the end zone and giving himself a safety.
And still thinking he was in play.
He didn't
It's not
realize
as bad
that
as Mr. Butt Fumble.
that one was pretty bad, honestly. But I do think if you're going to go team for team, this Jets team is just not very talented anymore. I mean, on both sides of the ball, no middle linebacker. They thought they were going to get C.J. Mosley. No running back. They thought they had Le'Veon Bell. And my brother is a Jets fan, unfortunately. So I gotta see him just continue to pull his ears off with them not firing Gase or anything like that. But I don't even see, because the Lions had Megatron. If Dan Orlovsky can just throw it up to him 10 times a game and beat the Jets at this point, this Jets team is bad. Like this is one of the worst teams. Going back to maybe there's the Jets team in the 90s who was really bad too. Like going back to that far, this is one of the worst teams in the NFL that I've seen.
I looking at how that contest turned out on Monday Night Football, everyone was actually giving a bit of praise to Joe Flacco, which kind of surprised me. So here's an even weirder question that might not even matter. Who do you put in as QB to get you that one win? Because, I mean, Flacco was right on the doorstep. Darnold has been basically ruined by this organization at this point. I mean, they both are not exactly ideal, but who do you really take now? Kind of a controversy that doesn't matter, in my opinion, I would say.
Hey, who's my coach? If it's Gase, I'm not taking Sam Darnold. He's ruined him enough.
You got to
Gase,
quarantine.
I'm taking Flacco.
You got to quarantine Darnold away from Gase. Got to do something to get him out of there.
Well, there was rumors before trade deadline that Washington was interested in Darnold.
That would be just one bad thing for another. That's another really bad.
But what does Washington have?
Where does Dwayne Haskins go? That's a question for Washington.
Dwayne Haskins needs to go to the XFL in 2021.
I feel bad for Dwayne. I feel bad for Dwayne. I played with Dwayne back before we both got into college. It was a high school all-star game. I played with him, and he's talented, but he was not ready to start at the NFL level. Just even his football knowledge when I was with him wasn't great. And then you could tell his senior year in Ohio State, he had a pretty good year and put up some really good numbers. Good for him, but you could tell that he wasn't going to be able to read a defense at this level.
Well, the guys on Sports and Things, a little plug, Saturdays at noon, they were saying that Dwayne Haskins doesn't, go in the film room. He brags about his stats to his teammates after they get blown out, and that's just a sign of being a front runner. And plus Jay Gruden, the former coach, didn't want him last year, and they still drafted him. It seems like the Washington Redskins, or excuse me, the Washington football team, is so desperate to find their quarterback. The problem is this draft coming up, they've already played themselves out of a good quarterback coming up. They're not going to get Justin Fields, and they're not getting Trevor Lawrence. So you have to find for the Redskins. You got to look, is Haskins your guy? Is he your guy? Because Allen, I don't think that's their guy. And of course, every time you see Smith out there, you're like, geez, hopefully he can stand up after he gets hit after what we've seen him a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. It's for the skin or football team, Keisha, they sound like a
You can call them the Sentinels. I'll know what you're talking about.
The Washington. They need to go after Shane Falco. That's their play. Go after him. Go get off Keanu Reeves to go play when get the kicker with the smoking the cigarettes. They'll be a very entertaining team. That's what basically they are right now. They're just a bunch of mix and place type of characters. It's this. Luckily for them, that division is so garbage can, trash can. They smell like crap, like their politics this day and age. They're in contention, which is sad. But for the Skins, in my opinion, there I go again. They got to find a way. They're not getting the quarterback in the draft. And who wants to go play for the offensive line where you hike the ball and you're sacked instantly? It's like you're playing Madden on easy, and you're the defense. So yeah, I don't understand. It's just the Skins, in my opinion, especially Haskins. He had, I think it was a top 5 pick in the NFL a couple years ago.
I think he was 9 or 10.
So he was expected to be the guy, come in here, change the outlook of the the club, and he hasn't. He's been a big disappointment, and I feel bad for Riviera. It's just it's a difficult situation for the Skins. There I go again. But anyways, yeah, they need to find a way to get a quarterback, and that was a rumor. Their trade rumor about Donald, which was Sam Darnold, and that made me like, is that something you want to have a 6-week, 10-week rental, because his contract is up this year? So, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But he's seeing ghosts in New York, so that's the issue. And Hoskins in DC apparently doesn't want to be a professional athlete at this time. So I think best chance for him is to go to a lower grade football, the spring league, indoor football, or the XFL in a couple of years.
Yeah, these guys that come in is super athletic in college, and that's how they're successful going through their career. If they're not the best athlete when they go to the NFL, Lamar Jackson, you're not going to be very successful unless you put in the time and the effort for film study. And I think even Lamar does that. That's a shot at Lamar, kind of an unfair one. Since we're throwing out more debate topics, let's go with this one. Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson. And I think that you can say that this is an unfair comparison, but honestly, in my opinion, it's really not. These two, both very athletic quarterbacks, can run better than most running backs in the league. Kyler Murray's like 4th in the NFL in rushing, I think, fourth or 6th, one of those two spots. But who would you want to start your franchise around as the Cardinals and Ravens both continue to do? Who are you setting it around? Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson, in your opinion?
I'm going to take Kyler Murray. I know Lamar has an MVP and all that. I mean, nothing against Lamar, but I think Kyler's a better thrower of the football. They both have some accuracy issues. Like we've seen Kyler overthrow people. We see Lamar outside the numbers. It's basically a crapshoot. But I think Lamar's team is built so perfectly around him where they could pound the heck out of the rock. You have the great tight ends and a burner receiver. Kyler, they spread it out 4 wide and just let him basically throw darts. Kyler, I think, is a little more agile as a runner. Like Lamar's obviously, I think, a little faster, but I think Kyler's better at avoiding hits. I mean, he has 8 rushing touchdowns this year already. Lamar had 10 last year, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. So he's on pace to do everything Lamar did last year with a much worse offensive line and a worse coaching staff, in my opinion. Nothing against Cliff Kingsbury's handsome self, but John Harbaugh's a different level. And the defenses aren't even close. Baltimore's defense is one of the better ones in the league, even when it's struggling, even without Marlon Humphrey when he's out. And they can plug and play anyone. They can just casually cut Earl Thomas in the offseason and be just fine. So I'm going to lean towards Kyler, but in a non-negative towards Lamar way. I just think Kyler's a better natural thrower of the football. And I think he's going to avoid big hits better than Lamar does. I think Lamar's just outruns people to avoid hits where Kyler can evade hits, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, the stat with Kyler is that he normally finishes either in the slide or out of bounds, and he very rarely ever gets actually tackled to the ground. I think against the Jaguars, maybe he was on the ground like twice the entire time, and he had 150 rushing yards or some crazy stat like that. But that is kind of why I wanted to bring this up, because you have to debate whether you want the better quarterback or the better football player. Who does anybody have the opposite opinion of DJ? Who would start with Lamar Jackson if you were a GM over Kyler Murray?
I wouldn't say at least on the lines of if I'm picking as a GM. My only thing is I want to see Lamar Jackson with a DeAndre Hopkins type on that offense. Now, if I'm going to be upfront with you, Murray's the better passer for sure, but as it's been stated as well, a all-star receiver can make any quarterback look like they are also at least elevated their level. I mean, don't get me wrong, Des Bryant in his prime, it would be a nice pickup, but this is a guy that's, definitely has been out of football for a few years. He's still getting his legs under him, and I don't think he's going to really elevate, as you will, like a DeAndre Hopkins or a Stephon Diggs over in Buffalo like Josh Allen has. That's someone who I'm waiting for, at least in Baltimore. Marquise Brown, it's his second year, but I'm not saying that he's going to be there or be like his cousin Antonio Brown anytime soon. But, that's kind of what I want to see. However, Lamar Jackson still, definitely is a better runner than a passer. He can deliver when he needs to. Kyler Murray, on the other hand, gives you both. He's already on pace to have 1,000 yards rushing and is already lighting up the league as one of the top passers for yardage and for touchdowns in the NFL. So I understand if you take him. I would personally take him too. But my point into this is that I haven't seen Baltimore actually add a receiver that can be on the level of the corp that Arizona actually has at this time.
Yeah, that's the DeAndre Hopkins move has been great for Kyler, and I think we're seeing him take the next step because of it. And then pairing a guy like that with Fitz, I think the Cardinals were kind of just handling themselves a little bit better. The Ravens this year, I don't know. Kelcey, what do you think about this one between Kyler and Lamar? What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm starting from scratch, I'm going to go with Lamar. But if I just have a plug and play situation, I'm going Kyler, and it's for every reason you guys both mentioned. Kyler is a better passer, period, and he does end up on the ground only in a slide or out of bounds. That's all he gets tackled unless he gets sacked. But Lamar is just outrageous. Like what he's able to do on the field is just outstanding. If I can build a team around him, I'm not worried about it because I know I can get a run game to surround him. I can get 2 solid tight ends. I'm going to spend a higher pick on a tight end to put around him than a receiver. Because if you look at it, Mark Andrews is borderline a top 10 receiver at tight end because of Lamar. And then, Marquise Brown is just that guy that takes the top off. And I'm not even including what Boyle was there. Hayden Hurst used to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Some quality tight ends there. Mark Ingram is looking like Mark Ingram that won a Heisman and not Mark Ingram that couldn't get 1 yard in his rookie year with the Saints. And on top of that, you got J.K. Dobbins out of the backfield. It's what Lamar's able to do with those pieces around him, I think is just outstanding. So if I can build something from the ground up, I'm going Lamar. But if I just have a team that's already there, I got to take Kyler just for what he's able to do all around.
All right, Jim, you are a team right now that's looking for the next franchise quarterback, moving on from a guy who was there for 20 years. If you had the choice, if you were able to call Robert Kraft and be like, okay, hey, go away from the massage parlor for a second. Let's take a breath. Let's talk about some football. Are we trading for Lamar Jackson or are we trading for Kyler Murray if you had Robert Kraft on the phone?
For the way that the Patriots are built right now, just adding a new quarterback. I just want to say, just to get my guidelines here. Because if we look at the New England Patriots right now, you look at our wide receivers, you see a bunch of trash cans plus Julian Edelman. So we've been adapting more of a running style type of offense. So if I was doing a trade, I would trade every single one of our quarterbacks to Baltimore for Lamar Jackson to keep that similar style of offense that we have right now. But if we're trying to see if the Patriots have a little bit more offensive power in the receiving core and the tight end core, I'll go for Murray. It's just, if you look at those two quarterbacks between Murray and Lamar Jackson, we've seen Lamar Jackson the last 2 years torch up defenses left and right in the regular season in week 8, week 9, and week 10. But when it comes crunch times in the AFC wildcard game or the divisional game, he gets shut down because defenses put 9 in the box and go, we know you can't throw. You got to throw the ball to beat us. We're going to shut down your read option. And that's why you see them losing to the Titans or the Chargers a couple of years ago, I think it was, in the wild card game. It was, for me, to build a franchise from scratch, I'll go with Murray. Murray is more flashy. He has a better arm. He has a lot more accuracy, and he does get away from the sacks. He's always sliding, like Kelcey said, about how every time you see him, he's never tackled. He's either sliding out of bounds or running out of bounds. And that's a sign of a young quarterback that knows when to get out of the pocket. He knows the pocket, and he understands the game. And something that Lamar Jackson has a hard time doing, when his first read's not there, he runs. And that's a sign of a quarterback that doesn't trust receivers or trusts his arm. Usually you see that get developed in college. He was like that in college. That's where he made his announcement to the college football world and football world, where he torched my Seminoles. But it's, Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, is if you want to say both athletes, Lamar Jackson is a more pure athlete than Murray. But Murray is a more quarterback-centered individual than Jackson. He can read offenses, plus you look at the weapons he has in Arizona and the wide receiver core. Yeah, you can make those guys and you can put yourself on a better stance. But as for my Patriots, I'll say Lamar Jackson because we don't have any offensive weapons out there. He has to run the ball. He has to be the show. But if it was another year, if it was the Patriots 4 years ago, give me Murray. But if it's the Patriots right now, it'd be Lamar Jackson.
That is a good point. Right now, it would be similar kind of to Cam Newton with Lamar Jackson. It would be a better fit. But I think with what Belichick is going to do, this will be interesting because it's the first time Belichick's had to be like a real genius GM since he had Brady. This is going to be the first draft where he's going to have to be like, we have gotten rid of everybody that we can. We have enough draft capital to now build our team this way. Let's go ahead and figure out what we're going to be moving forward. So that's a good point about where the Patriots are technically as a franchise.
If you want to do about quarterback ratings right now, if you do the top 60-some quarterbacks that play this year in the NFL, number 27 is Lamar Jackson. Number 28 is Cam Newton. So that's come on. That just tells you a lot about Lamar Jackson's throwing ability when you're just one ranked higher than Cam and you're one rank lower than Baker Mayfield.
Well, let's take this time to now transition. This is why I'm sure everybody's going to be here to watch this is our NFL Pick'em. See who's right, see who's wrong. And we'll just go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to refrain from picking. I'll just have everybody, all the panel, go through and see who we think is going to win each game. I'll kind of set them up, though, as we move forward. So first game of 6-13 that we have this week, the Texans going to Cleveland to take on, I believe, Nick Chubb in his return game in Cleveland. Texans-Browns. Kelcey, who do you have in this one?
Yeah, that Nick Chubb returning is the only reason I have this going the Browns' way. That dude is outstanding, and you put him back in a team where they're missing Odell. You couldn't ask for more right now when you need a win.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, Zach, Texans-Browns.
I'm only going to go with the Browns simply because of Nick Chubb being back. Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback when he has supporting cast around him to help divert off pressure. He can every once in a while, I would say, deliver performance where he dominates the entire day. Actually, one of them was against the Cincinnati Bengals. Sorry, Jimmy. But overall though, it's a much better built team. Deshaun Watson will keep the Texans in the game. He's a special talent. Obviously, they've been able to stay within some sort of reach for most part of the season. But the Texans' defense overall is a hot garbage fire. They're the worst against the run. Cleveland is built for the run with not only Nick Chubb, but now a resurgent Kareem Hunt that I think is out to prove people wrong and to not be ignored anymore.
Punter
what?
Punter connoisseur.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm not going to let somebody who has something like that on his record not get brought up on the show. Sorry.
Oh no, you definitely should bring it up. You are no wrong deuce though. Cleveland takes this matchup, though. The biggest flaw of the Texans is their rush defense, and this is a mismatch all the way around, in my opinion.
All right, Jim, do you think Deshaun Watson can go into Cleveland and beat a resurging Browns team?
In the words of Boomer Esiason, the Houston Texans have an elite quarterback with a 1-7 team. Sorry, you're not elite if you're 1-7. Cleveland Browns are home. Nick Chubb's returning. Texans have a crappy run defense. If the Jacksonville Jaguars can run the ball all over you, you're not stopping a offense with a healthy Nick Chubb. Take Browns in the over. I don't even know what the score spread is, but I think Browns will cover.
I can look at that real quick, and ESPN will pull up. It is a 4-point game. Cleveland is favored by 4. Over the Texans. So I think that's a good line for this kind of game. DJ, Texans, Browns, are you going to be the outlier? Or are you sticking with everybody else?
We're all on the Browns. I think the Browns are going to go off for about 200-plus rushing yards, and Myles Garrett's going to be attacking Deshaun all day long. Deshaun's going to be running for his life. It'll stay close because Deshaun's that good, and they've kind of had a mini quote-unquote resurgence since Bill O'Brien got canned, addition by subtraction. But I think the Browns will still be too much, and those control the clock significantly.
All right, coming right back at you with the Washington football team going into Detroit. Who's going to be quarterback for the football team, and is Detroit, is Matt Patricia finally going to bring Detroit where everybody thought he was going to be able to when they first hired him? DJ, Washington, or the Lions?
Can I pick a tie because I don't really trust either team? But I'll go with the Lions because Stafford's better than anything Washington has. I mean, Washington doesn't have much besides Chase Young's 3 games, I guess. But I'm going to stick with the Lions. I think they just get it done. Just a little bit less of a mess. The less destructive fire, if you will.
All right, Kelcey, you agree with your co-host, or are you going to go pick the Washington football team in? Let's see here. This is going to be Washington football team in an upset?
Yeah, no, there's no chance. As a Cowboys fan, I think I would burn in everything really if I picked Washington to do anything. And then Lions got to win it. But if they win it, feed carry on. Give carry on the ball in the red zone. You're missing out on a great opportunity with a big body back. Stop giving DeAndre Swift some goofy end arounds. Just feed carry on when you're in the red zone.
All right, 2-0 for Detroit right now with our panel. Zach, I'll go to you. Washington football team, do they have enough to pull off the upset over Matt Patricia and the Detroit Lions?
This is kind of an interesting matchup because it is kind of even. And if you look at the ratings, Washington is surprisingly the best pass defense in the NFL, as a fun fact. The way that Washington can win this is if they get pressure to Matthew Stafford and they rely on Ryan Kerrigan and Chase Young to deliver. I don't know if they will, but I also want to mention, too, I want to see Alex Smith when he gets a full week of practice as the starter. He's done 2 relief efforts. He has looked ugly in them, but keep in mind, it's not always an exact science when you're coming off the bench. I will actually go against the grain here. I think Washington's defense has just enough to get by a Detroit team that I think is poorly coached, and this will be a defining loss in Matt Patricia, I think, eventually being fired, and I think he should be fired by the end of the season anyway, along with GM Bob Quinn.
Oh, wow. Cool off your mic after that one. That was a hot take. All right, Jim, last one on this game. Washington, do you agree with Zach? Do you think they pull off the upset, or are you sticking with Matt Patricia, your former defensive coordinator for your Patriots?
I am sticking with Zach with this. I think the Redskins have enough to beat the Lions. I just can't understand what type of line team this is. 1 week they look like they're going to be, making it around the curb and, scoring 30, 40 points a game. Then the following week they just, get completely dominated. Yes, they've lost a lot of close games this year, but they have no identity. At least the football team has somewhat of identity. And like Zach, I want to see how Smith is after a full week of practice. And for some odd reason, I just think that I just don't trust the Lions in this game. This is definitely a game that is a toss-up, but I'm going to side with Zach here and give me the football club here.
Yeah, the Lions coming up on that Thanksgiving matchup. Maybe they hit a little bit of a slump before they go national TV again, but they definitely aren't a team to bet on when they're at home, because home field advantage doesn't really mean much when you're a Detroit Lions fan. Now your local team, Jim, the Jacksonville Jaguars, got to go all the way up to Green Bay to meet Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if Aaron Jones is going to be back, but Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams have been on a tear. So how bad do you think the Packers are going to destroy the Jaguars, Jim?
45-0.
Okay, there you go.
Straight shutout.
Yeah, the Jaguars are playing the backup in Lutton out of Oregon State. In the Jacksonville team, we have a good running game, a running attack, but that's about it. But Aaron Rodgers, the best team, probably one of the best teams in the NFC currently right now in the standings. They are the best team in the NFC. So, yeah, Packers all day, every day. They're going to blow out the Jaguars, and it's not going to look good.
All right. Anybody going up against Aaron Rodgers? I'll ask it that way. DJ, do you think that the Packers can go ahead and take out Jacksonville?
Well, I have both the Aarons on my fantasy team, so I really hope so, because if they don't, that'll be the second time the Jaguars have really ruined my weekend. So I'm going to stick with the Packers by a 35-7, something very comfortable and quick.
Quick and easy, painless. Get the Jaguars in and out as fast as possible. Kelcey, do you see the Packers taking business at Lambeau?
Yeah, I mean, Devontae Adams is playing like a top 3 wide receiver right now, maybe the best receiver in the league, arguably. So it's they have nobody to defend him. good luck trying to stop that man.
All right, Zach, you're the last one. I know it's probably going to hurt you having to pick a division rival, but what do you see this game happening this weekend? Jacksonville going up and playing the Packers.
Well, I'm used to Green Bay smacking around Chicago in recent years, so I'm just, it doesn't hurt as much. It's more numbing anymore to watch Aaron Rodgers after Brett Favre, of course, come in and just dominate the NFC North and that section of the NFC. Look, the Jacksonville Jaguars are being lambed to the slaughter coming to Lambeau here. This is not going to go well. I'm only going to offer one take that I would say is even relatively close to Jacksonville somehow miraculously coming out of Lambeau Field with a second win. If James Robinson somehow goes off, and I mean, he's been pretty solid this year for an undrafted free agent, that's the only way they're going to win, because Green Bay is susceptible somewhat on defense. It's just disguised by a Green Bay offense that how do you stop it? I mean, that's the question. How do you stop the number one receiver that they have in Devontae Adams? And then you have to deal with Aaron Jones on the back end, along with, of course, James Williams as well as a secondary running back who is also just as a solid in relief for that position. It's Green Bay all day. I'm not going to say it's a shutout. I mean, hey, it could be, don't get me wrong. But I'm going to say Jacksonville at least puts up 10 points, but it's going to come in garbage time. It's going to be somewhere along a 38-10 route. Green Bay, of course, holds their turf in Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yeah, the Packers are a 13.5-point favorite. Over-under for this game is 47.5. When on the far end of the bench, when Nico and I come up on a game like this, we like to say that the Packers are going to hit the over by themselves, so go ahead and bang the over just in case the Jaguars get frisky and score a little bit in garbage time. But that's a clean sweep for the Packers, something that I was expecting. Now moving over into the NFC Beast, we don't have our we only have one of our NFC East fans with Kelcey and his Cowboys. Excuse me, I almost just said something really really offensive there. But Eagles going
I don't know, they're
in,
better than the Cowboys.
Yeah, Eagles going into the New Jersey playing the Giants. Who do we have in this one? Kelcey, I'll start with you.
This is the dumpster fire fighting a dumpster fire. It's going to result in a huge dumpster fire. But there's one bright spot in this dumpster fire. It is Darius Slayton. And Daniel Jones knows how to throw it to the man when he's, not falling down 79 yards downfield. So, as long as he hits Darius Slayton, there's no reason that the Giants shouldn't win this. I mean, really, Carson Wentz is going to throw the ball to you 4 times, 5 times at least. So you should be an easy win for the Giants.
Yeah, in their last meeting, Nico and I picked against each other. I had the Eagles winning, and he had the Giants, and I accidentally tweeted out that we both had the Eagles, and they were losing towards the end of the game, and he threw me under the bus. So I got lucky in the last one, but that was such a toss-up game, and it was as soon as Daniel Jones fell at the 11-yard line, that's when you felt the momentum shift completely the opposite way. Zach, out of this NFC Beast matchup, who do you have picking up another game as to who's going to win the participation award come NFL playoff time?
I just get the sneaking suspicion that the Giants finally put it together and get a win. I mean, last 2 weeks, guys, credit, they have been in competition to where they should have actually stolen some wins. They basically rode themselves out of wins the last 2 weeks, especially the Tampa Bay game. I felt that would have been a good one to steal. And of course, as we saw with the Buccaneers against the Saints, they are susceptible to certain flaws. Now, with the Eagles, Carson Wentz still is a turnover machine this year. We can't forget about that, Mark. However, keep in mind that Miles Sanders is making his return this week, which will definitely help out with any pressure that Wentz might have to feel with having to carry the load, if you will. They are getting healthier. Lane Johnson, I believe, is also going to be back as well, as it was announced from injury as well. So I will actually side with Philadelphia on this. Sanders is kind of the tipping point. The Giants are, I think, due for a win here, but you're going to have to give me Philadelphia. And I know I might have psyched you out with the Giants for a second, guys, but trust me, Sanders is the one that, just kind of rechecking my notes here. He's the one I think that tips the scales back in favor of Philadelphia and at least giving them back on at least a 500 mark for the first time this season.
You swerved the crap out of me. I mean, that's the biggest comeback Philadelphia's had since Rocky II coming back and beating Apollo.
I did exactly what Philadelphia did in New York the first time they met, which was basically looking like they were on the mat, and then Wentz wills them to a win, as, Thursday night matchup for the ages, folks.
If you can do,
That's
if you
exactly
can win that way, go ahead and win that way. But that's not something that's sustainable. DJ, Eagles, Giants. Who do you got?
For all of Carson Wentz's flaws, he's never been tackled by an extremely long blade of grass. So I'm going to go with the Eagles, I guess, just because somebody has to win. And I think they have slightly better personnel, I suppose. I mean, like Darius Slayton's probably the best receiver on the field, like Kelcey mentioned. But everything else on the Giants, I can kind of plug and play with the people selling hot dogs. So I'm going to stick with the Eagles, but I'm not happy about it.
All right, that just leaves you, Jim. You're going to split this one too, or you're gonna give the Eagles the advantage for the show this week?
Can I put like a lock of a week here today? The winner of this game wins the NFC trash can division, and Eagles, Carson Wentz. Even though their record both teams' records don't seem like, these are going to be competitive teams. Someone has to win this division, and then they might go 6-10, but they'll be division winners. But I look at the quarterback play, and Carson Wentz, in my opinion, is still the better of the two quarterbacks. Now the question is we have a rookie lurking in the background. Can we see the emergence of a rookie from Oklahoma/Alabama this weekend? That's the question. But I like to see Philadelphia win this. You have to have a team in that division somehow take control of it some way, and this is a chance for the Eagles to start getting somewhat of a separation. So whoever wins this game wins the division. Sorry, Kelcey, but that's my pick.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. Honestly, it's like I said, two dumpster fires. Take your pick.
The Eagles have been able to emerge as the best dumpster fire out of the bunch the last few years, so I think they're going to continue to do that. Next game, Buccaneers and trying to bounce back after that embarrassment that happened on Sunday night, going into Carolina and taking on a very game Teddy Bridgewater and Matt Rule. I don't know if they're going to have Christian McCaffrey because it was saying he was a little bit banged up in the beginning of the week, but how do we see this one going? I'll start with Jim since he's the Brady fan. Do you think that your guy's going to bounce back? There's strong evidence this season that it's possible, but what do you feel about this game going into this weekend?
I think he does bounce back, but it's not going to be a type of game where you get dominated and you get beat bad by a division rival, and the next week you play. We don't have the luxury. Brady doesn't have the luxury this year like playing the Jets or the Dolphins or the Bills back in the day after they lost to a tough team like the Steelers or someone like that. You look at Carolina, they're a scrappy team. That's one thing I like about teams like Carolina. They have Bridgewater. If McCaffrey is healthy, he will give Tampa Bay's defense a problem. But when you look at the two guys who are at the helm, Brady and Bridgewater, it just you have to always side with Brady here. Brady has the better weapons on offense. He has more experience. In fact, he could arguably be the best quarterback to ever play the game. It's just this game right here after a loss to New Orleans, you want to see the Buccaneers go in here and just dominate and expose Carolina's defense to the range of weapons that Brady has. But for some odd reason, this seems like this is going to be a one-possession game deep in the fourth quarter, and it's going to be Brady trying to win the game on a critical third down to ice the game. And honestly, I like the Buccaneers here, but I'm going to be like Lee Corso from College Game Day. It's going to be smaller than the experts predict. I like the Buccaneers in a close one here. It's going to be a 2-week hangover for the Bucs, but I think they take care of it. But it's not going to be a type of game where Buccaneer fans are turning off at halftime knowing they have this game in hand. It's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I think that's a good take. I think the Panthers resemble the Bucs from a couple of years ago, where they're building up to where they're going to be able to be competitive. DJ, what do you feel about this one, Buccaneers Panthers?
I'm going to say the Buccaneers win because it's the Buccaneers and the Panthers, and CMC I don't think's playing, and even if he was, Tampa Bay's defense is still that good. But I think it's going to be a fluky game where all the talk is Tom Brady being able to feed the ball to AB, Mike Evans, possibly, happy Chris Godwin. So the Buccaneers will come out and run the ball and get like 200 yards with Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette, and no receivers will touch the ball, and they'll win like 28-17. Something pretty comfortable, get a few takeaways. Nothing too flashy, but a dub is a dub.
Yeah, you basically just have to take wins where you can get them at this point. Kelcey, what do you think about this matchup? Another in-division matchup, and that was a surprising game on Sunday night. I didn't expect the Saints to win at all, let alone dominate the way that they did. What do we think about this game moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, after Sunday, after what the Saints just did to the Bucks, I don't know if Tom Brady fell off a cliff, and if he fell off a cliff, then what my pick is going to be sounds even better. I'm going Panthers. I think what Teddy can do with Robbie Anderson on the outside, DJ Moore, even without CMC as Mike Davis, a very capable, very good-looking running back right now. The Panthers defense, yeah, they have a Rookie of the Year candidate at safety, and Jeremy Chin. He's outstanding, flies all over the field. I do think, if this is going to happen, the Panthers pull this off, it's going to be the only points scored for the Bucks are going to come from defense, and that's just going to be it. Offensively, though, the Panthers are just going to pick apart. Honestly, this Panthers team reminds me a lot of Tom Brady, Randy Moss type of combination. You got Robbie Anderson flying down the sideline. You got DJ Moore catching everything in between, middle range, deep, close, like you name it, he'll catch everything. So, I got the Panthers. Panthers pulling this one off. It's going to be an upset, but it won't look like an upset.
Zach, what do you feel about this one? We got 2-1 right now for Tampa Bay. Are you going to be you going to split it, or are you going to go with the GOAT?
I would split it only if Christian McCaffrey was in right now. I mean, Mike Davis has been serviceable. I do like his resurgence, and fun fact, Mike Davis, in my opinion, was a wasted free agent signing that the Bears did not utilize last year. For those that did not know, because I get jealous when I've watched him on the field this year in relief of Christian McCaffrey, because he's still a good running back. He's not a McCaffrey type, though, which McCaffrey elevates this offense for Carolina to another level, which would, in my opinion, give them a chance to overtake Tampa Bay and split the season series. I just don't see this happening, only because Carolina as well still has a few flaws on their tackle situation and their pass protection. Tampa Bay is one of the best pass rushing teams in the NFL. It's just Bridgewater's mobile, but he's not going to be able to escape it all day. And I think this is also just a get-right game for Tampa Bay. Knowing Tom Brady, we know how serious he takes these type of contests, as well as how he takes his competition in games where they get embarrassed. So I'm going to say that Tampa comes out swinging. I'm actually going to have a take here and say that Antonio Brown scores a touchdown, only because Tom Brady really has wanted him here on a roster with him since they had him in New England. And, of course, that I think they're going to keep getting him more involved, which I think they might get him a TD come Sunday. So, yeah, that I don't know about Carolina getting it this Sunday. If they have McCaffrey, they pull it off. But to me, Tampa Bay is still the more well-put-together team. Got to give credit, though, to Matt Rule. This is a coach that I think is legitimate. He just is needing a little bit more out of at least a more talented roster. He's getting the most out of it right now. He just needs to improve upon it as he continues his coaching tenure.
Yeah, I agree. That was something. I think Matt Rule is one of the better coaches. Let's just go rapid fire here that was the early game slate. We'll start with the first afternoon game. Broncos going into Las Vegas. I'm pretty sure I know where a few of you guys are leaning, but we'll start with you, Kelcey. Pick your guy for the first afternoon game, Broncos Raiders.
Yeah, since Nico's not here, somebody's got to rep the Broncos, right? So I guess Broncos it is. I no reason whatsoever. Just Broncos is this.
All right, Zach, Broncos Raiders rapid fire.
I'm going with the Raiders. I'm going to have to say, as much as I could do a best Chris Berman impersonation, but more well-built together team. This feels like the Raiders' year. Chucky getting everything, I think, in order. Just get Henry Ruggs involved more. That's the only thing I got to say. They're a better built together team when they're not using him as a decoy, but this is a Raiders contest that they will be taking at home.
Jim, you going to rep us too, or are you going to stick with Zach and go with the Raiders?
As much as I want to do and support Zach, I have to side with my boys. No, I'm not. I'm going to go with the Raiders here.
bigger swerve.
Yeah, I thought we were about to have a moment, but then you had to go and ruin it.
Broke my heart, man.
Yeah, that was something. DJ, Broncos Raiders.
Raiders, I get they're gonna make the 7th seed. Like I said, they got to win, and I think Hunter Renfrow goes off for like 140 yards. They finally used one of the better slot receivers in the game for a change.
All right, 2 rookie quarterbacks in the next game: Chargers, Dolphins. Herbert versus Tua. DJ, what do you got on this one? Chargers, Dolphins.
Dolphins win because the Chargers have a unique ability to choke. So, Justin plays better. Dolphins win.
Jim, you got any disagreements with that? Chargers, Dolphins.
No, not really. West Coast teams have a hard time winning on the East Coast, no matter what time it is. Give me the Dolphins at home.
All right, Kelcey, what do you think? Do you think Herbert can kind of lead the Chargers over the hump, or are they going to continue to just be mediocre?
Yeah, I'm gonna stop being contrarian for a moment, and I'm just gonna join the club and go with the Dolphins. Tua does it again.
Zach, what do you think? You think Herbert can finally put an end to all this Tua madness?
Going against the grain, I'm saying Justin Herbert comes out and proves that he is the better rookie quarterback and silences some people. I also think Anthony Lynn at this point is kind of fighting for his job security because you keep seeing these failed games where it seems to be the fourth quarter that the Chargers just fall apart. Chargers going to Chargers, what the phrase is becoming. Anthony Lynn, I think, tries to get these guys together and outcoaches Brian Flores to take a win in Miami, surprisingly.
I was fairly I could see that happening, and the Dolphins are liable to fall apart with as good as they have been playing in the past couple of weeks. Moving on now, Bills going into Arizona, Josh Allen versus Kyler Murray. Jim, what do you think of the team that's going to take over the top spot in the AFC East going into Arizona?
This is going to be a very competitive game, and for all honest opinion, I have to tip my hats to the Buffalo Bills. The next couple of games here, especially the 4 o'clock slate, these are the games of the week, basically, and it's going to be an offensive explosion, but, give me Arizona very close here. I don't trust, it's a long road trip to Arizona, and yes, they're still going to win. Buffalo's still winning the division. It's just that they're going to stub their toe here in Arizona.
Zach, do you agree, or you're going with Josh Allen over Kyler Murray?
Another famous Chris Berman quote, nobody circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills, I think, will go to Arizona, and they will make it a close contest because this is not the same Bills defense of the last 2 years. The Bills defense was ranked second last year. They are now ranked middle of the pack, and they are susceptible. But Josh Allen also has Stephon Diggs and has elevated his game to a different level as well. Give me the Buffalo Bills either on a field goal win or by at least the max a touchdown by the end of the day.
Kelcey, what about this one? What do you think? Josh Allen is an MVP contender now again, but do you think Kyler can will the Cardinals past him?
Nah, no chance. I got the Bills. It's gonna be easy for the Bills, but again, on the scoreboard, it's gonna look tough. They can never win a game without it making it look close, but the Bills win again.
All right, DJ, anything different, or are you going with the Bills over the Cardinals?
I'm going to take the Bills, too. They have Trey White that can mildly somewhat mitigate DeAndre Hopkins, and the Cardinals don't have Chandler Jones, so Josh Allen's going to throw darts. But it'll be close, but I'll take the Bills.
All right, that brings us to my most important game of the week. Bengals going into Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Steelers 7.5-point favorite at home, the only undefeated team left in the league and the first time that they've been 8-0 in their franchise history. Jim, I'll start with you because I just want to get this one out of the way. Who's winning this game?
Upset, Cincinnati over Pittsburgh. I think this is a week that Pittsburgh drops a game. You can't go undefeated in the NFL. It's impossible. You're going to have a game you're going to drop. And Cincinnati's been improving each and every week, and they always get up for Steelers. They always do it in their history. So Joe Burrow knocks off the Steelers and gives the Steelers their first loss of the season.
Wow. Now I wish I saved you for last because I don't think it's going to get any better than that. Kelcey, you going to stick on the upset bandwagon, or are you going with the Steelers?
Look, I already said I'm about to become I'm a borderline Bengals bandwagoner at this point. So I'm jumping on the train. Got another upset here. Joe Burrow, this is his standout game. This wins him the Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year.
DJ, Joe Burrow versus Big Ben, first matchup between the two guys. Who's going to walk away with the victory?
I refuse to pick Big Ben for anything, so I'm going to take the Bengals and Joe Burrow. You can't win them all, basically, and you can't almost lose to the Cowboys. Someone has to pay for that.
I'm loving it. I'll take it. I love the optimism on the show. Zach, come on, finish it out. Let's go. Upset sweep.
Bravo. You made me the one guy that's the bad guy in this somehow. I did not see this coming. I am going to take Pittsburgh because I'm going to just say, yes, Ben Roethlisberger is susceptible to a bad game every year. It happens. It is going to happen. Even though he has been pedestrian, there is a game every year that Ben Roethlisberger becomes mediocre. This is one that is a trap game, in my opinion. However, this is a Steelers defense that, just like last year, is still very much dominant. It's one of the reasons why they are in every game that they have been in. I cannot see, or let me see. I can see how Joe Burrow can maybe get some success, but I don't see it being a W. I see it as a close contest only because Ben Roethlisberger, coming off COVID reserved injury list late, will be off his game. But that defense is too dominant right now to give me a loss against the Bengals. It's going to come later in the season, just not this week.
Well, I tried to bring you into the family. That's fine. We're pushing time, so let's go ahead and we'll just go as quick as possible for the last 4 games. Apologize if this is one of the teams that you were tuning in to listen for, but we got to make sure that we can keep this thing on schedule. So Seahawks Rams, Zach, Seahawks Rams, go.
Real quick, it's going to be the Rams, more well-rounded team in my opinion. The defense is going to go after Russell Wilson. He will have to be scrambling all day. Usually that is when he is at his worst. Give me the Rams for a more balanced offense and a very much dominant defense this year compared to last year.
All right, Jim, Seahawks Rams.
Give me the Seahawks, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson.
DJ, you going against the cook, or you picking Aaron Donald? You going Russell Wilson?
Russell Cooks has an MVP performance, and Jalen Ramsey does not want that DK Metcalf smoke.
Calling out Jalen Ramsey's a bold
Yes.
thing. Let's go. I like it. Kelcey, Rams, Seahawks, Rams.
I got the Rams. Opposite reason though. Jalen Ramsey matches up against Lockett. They double team DK. Russell has nobody to throw to.
That's going to be a chess match between DK and that secondary that the Rams have. All right, 49ers, Saints. Kelcey, we'll start with you.
Ain't nothing about those Saints. Drew Brees does it again. Breezes himself.
All right, I think he's washed. But Zach, what do you think? Drew Brees or 49ers, Saints?
Well, considering it's Drew Brees versus Nick Mullins, I'm going to take Brees. Also, the Saints are getting all the stars aligned, and as I mentioned earlier, they do have Quan Alexander getting what is supposed to be his first start. It is a team that is fully healthy and fully stocked once again at the perfect moment in the season.
All right, that's 2 for the Saints. Jim, you think Brees pulls it off again, gets another win in the Dome?
Who they think I beat them Saints? Not the Niners. Give me the Saints. Big.
Boom.
All right, and DJ, did you pick on this one?
No, I'll make it quick, though. George Kittle's not here to save the day for the Niners again like last time, so Saints roll.
All right, that brings us to Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. Sunday night, Jim, we'll start with you since it's your Patriots. Ravens going into New England.
Today, yes. Statement game. Let's go. Ravens big.
Ravens big. Oh, okay, there we go.
The swerve.
Kelcey, Ravens, Patriots.
Yeah, Ravens take this one easy.
Zach, any differing opinion?
No, New England at the end of this will be saying never more because the Ravens are going to be rolling over them with that
Boom.
dominant run offense.
That is an old school English. Hopefully you paid attention in English class to catch that one. That was good. I like that. DJ, Ravens, Patriots.
Ravens, but closer than it should be because why not?
All right, and then that brings us to the Chicago Bears. So, Zach, we're going to have to start with you. Dalvin Cook heating up, carrying Kirk Cousins to the finish line. Vikings going into Soldier Field. Who comes out on Monday night?
I am the ultimate Bears pessimist this week. I keep seeing the backslide continue to happen. I'm sorry. Dalvin Cook at his full strength. The Bears' weakness on defense is actually the run game. Even though they did hold Derrick Henry 68, they'll have to have the same game plan, but Dalvin Cook is a little more versatile than Derrick Henry, in my opinion. And also remember, Justin Jefferson is coming on strong in his rookie season. I'm taking the Vikings in an upset, and it just keeps making the Bears season more god-awful.
All right, DJ, I'm going to throw it to you. We think over here at the far end of the bench that Dalvin Cook's a sleeper MVP candidate. Do you think that he's able to get the Vikings past the Bears on Monday Night Football?
He's the best running back in football this season, but I'm going to go with the Bears. The defense contains him. Mitch Trubisky comes in crunch time and somehow saves the game in a weird twist of fates.
All right, Jim, what are you going with in our first Monday Night Football pick'em? Vikings or Bears?
Hail the Saint. Dalvin Cook, big Vikings.
Oh, I forgot he's a Florida State guy. That's why you're so excited.
The best running back in FSU history, and that is debatable, but he is.
All right, Kelcey, wrap us up here with the pick'em. Vikings Bears Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I got the Vikings pulling this one off. I have Dalvin Cook, 4 total touchdowns, 2 running, 1 receiving, 1 passing.
28 points. Holy hell.
Oh, my God.
So he's going to make his MVP case tonight.
We're going to be building the damn statue in Minnesota after this game.
Hey, possibly.
All right. Thank you guys for your opinions and your hot takes there. That'll be good. We'll try and keep track and get a graphic up moving forward as we continue to do this show. But I think that's going to bring us to a good spot to end our first NFL Unhinged show. We'll go ahead and have everybody sign off, plug your shows, what time they can listen to you on the network, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll start with Kelcey and DJ, the high-low sports guys. Let's start with you.
Yeah, guys, appreciate you guys tuning into this. We're happy, excited to do this. Every Sunday we'll be here. Well, if you guys want us still. But then every Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern time, you'll see us on the Unhinged Sports Network. 24 hours later, we release it on our Anchors, Apple Podcasts, everything. So in case you miss it and you missed all of the replays that we're on from Thursday night until we release that Friday, you always have a way to check us out. So be sure to just look us up at High Low Sports on Twitter, High Low Sports Podcast, everywhere else.
All right, Zach, go ahead, plug Gridiron Gallery and Beyond the Press Box for you guys.
Will indeed do that, Jim. Here's the deal. You can find me on 2 different podcasts on Unhinged Sports Network. My primary one is the one that is Gridiron Gallery. That is a football-centric podcast airing on Unhinged Sports Network, 11 a.m. Fridays. And also podcast edition will be out around the same time every week. Catch me with either myself, Tony Stanielson, and Michael Grimberg, or just me in between those bye weeks that we have between those episodes for the NFL. Talking NFL, arena football, XFL, CFL. If it's football, I'm probably going to be talking about it. And then Beyond the Press Box, we're the main sports talk conversation. You can catch us talking about NFL, MLB, NBA, college football, all of them, like myself, hosted by Yash Padi, along with Cody Emerson and Will Hatzel. And a Gridiron Gallery, at the very least, you can find on social media at ZK Podcast. That is for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Check us out at ZK Podcast.
All right, Jim, you get the big duty of the J-Dash show and then also the network as a whole. So go ahead, get started with that.
Yeah, so you can check my show, the J-Dash Morning Show, which will be rebranded as the J-Dash Show coming up after Thanksgiving. You can follow me at J-Dash Show or follow the network at Network Unhinged. Follow Carlos, Wrestling Movie Guy, my co-host, at Wrestling Movie G. Also, we have a new show launching next Friday called Unhinged at Night. It is basically a documentary series of every single podcast here. We'll be talking about different things from sports to, deep conversations, the birth of the network, the birth of these podcasts. It's more interacting with us, putting more human form of interaction on the network. You can follow me. Follow the J-Dash Show Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m. We kick off the live shows of those days. And, of course, Unhinged at Night will be at Friday at 8 p.m. every Friday starting next week.
DJ, I appreciate you being on the show, and I'll give you this opportunity to plug anything else. I don't know if Kelcey missed something or if you got your own thing going on that you wanted to plug as well, but I appreciate you coming on the show and giving your opinions.
Glad to be on here. Just be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook. We like to tweet and complain a lot whenever somebody does something stupid on Sundays.
That's what Twitter's there for at this point, especially in this climate. For myself, Jimmy Pilato, and my co-host Nico Bryant, we host the Far End of the Bench podcast based out in Denver, and that is on the Unhinged Network every Wednesday from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern. We release it on all of our on-demand listening platforms immediately after they are done with the live airing, so that 3 p.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. Mountain Time where we're based. go ahead and follow us on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. We have a TikTok where we post clips at FEOTB Pod. And then keep following along with the NFL Unhinged show. I think this is something good, and then we'll have Nico and Carlos and other people joining in when they can from all across the network. And that network after dark show, or Unhinged after dark show, is going to be huge. Anybody else got anything they want to say before we sign off here?
Also, check the website, unhingedsn.com and unhingedairtime.pro for 24 hours of live Unhinged podcasts. It's a constant clock. We have a lot of shows, but if you miss the live shows, come check out the website. Go find the guys, and you see what time the shows re-air on the network.
Content. We got tons of podcasts, blogs, and continuing to build some YouTube stuff with I know my show specifically. I'm sure everybody else is looking to get on that as well. But this is going to be the end of our first NFL Unhinged show. Thank you guys for listening. For myself, Jimmy Pilato, Kelcey, and DJ with the High Low Sports Podcast, Zach with Beyond the Press Box and Gridiron Gallery, and Jim with the J Morning Show and the Unhinged Sports Network. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will check you guys next week.